The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today. And today we're going to take a little deeper dive into Pastor Rob's message from yesterday. And actually, it's kind of a little different kind of message because it's talking a lot about vision and goals and kind of where the church is and where he sees God leading us. So welcome in, Pastor Rob.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So you're all geared up. You said that we are kind of looking at the 100 years that Shepherd is coming up on pretty soon.
Yep. There's July 4th, 2027. The church will be 100 years old. It was actually founded on July 4th, 1927. So 100 years later, it's also a Sunday, and pretty cool.
So that they declared their independence on
Yes,
July the 4th.
It was officially organized as a church with 18 members.
Wow.
So started on July 4th, 1927 with 18 members, and church has gone through lots of iterations since then. The first location that we had was on Dartmouth Avenue, and it was over in an area called Shepherd Community, and it was spelled Shepard, and it was that's where we got the name Shepherd Church. And so they were there for a while, then kind of outgrew that area, moved just down the road, not too far actually, from Dartmouth Avenue to Fifth Avenue, and built a building that looks similar to this building, the current building that we're in. Even had the same stained glass window in the sanctuary above the, in the corner of the roof where the peak comes together. And then when they outgrew that, they actually sold that church to another church that was in the area that was growing, because it seemed pretty obvious that our church needed to move, and Gehenna seemed like the area that God was calling them to go to. And so we didn't have a building or land, and so we moved to Jefferson Elementary, which is still there today, over on the whatever part of town it is. I know where it is. I can get you there. But
for those that are just listening, he's pointing that direction.
Yeah, that direction. But we met in Jefferson Elementary, I think, for 2.5 years almost. So it was setting up, tearing down every week. We still do that some places. The building set up and tear down every week. But during that time, ended up purchasing the land that we're currently on and built the building. And so we've been here since about 1963, I think it was. I need to get that number straight in my head. But yeah, so we've been here. But yeah, so that's been the 100-year journey, or will be 100 years on July 4th, 2027. So as we were thinking about this, I was talking about how, I don't know, a lot of people wouldn't know this. I actually had to look it up to know. I didn't know the exact number, but most churches don't last to be 100 years old. The median age of a church when it closes its doors is 67. And today, Shepherd is 97. So we've really outlasted the median life of a church. And the good news about that is that we're really, I don't think we're anywhere close to dying or anything. We're hoping that God continues to bless us and everything. When I did some research and shared this in the message on Sunday, in 2014, there were 4,500 churches that were started and only 3,700 churches closed, which that could be a startling number to you, that 3,700 churches close in a year. But at least in that year, there were 4,500 that were started. So we gained 800 churches in America. Well, since that time, the stuff has gotten worse. And the last time there was a study that I could find on that was 2019, which was before COVID. So it's probably even accelerated since then. But in 2019, there were 3,000 churches that were started and 4,500 closed their doors. And so as of 2019, we were losing 1,500 churches a year, which is basically like almost four churches closing every single day of the week in a year. Wow. And those are churches that have been, many of them around, well, the median age is 67. So they've been around for that long and just either lost, their purpose or their focus and mission. And, there's a lot of reasons why that happens, but it happened. and every church kind of has a bell curve, where it starts off and it grows and then it kind of peaks out. And then, the goal is you want to stay at that peak, and it's called sustained health. You want to sustain your health and be able to continue to grow as a church. But a lot of churches then they move into maintenance mode, and becomes more important to keep the people who are part of the church happy than people who are not part of the church. And you work more on systems than you do on trying to reach new people. And then it goes into just trying to preserve it. We just got to pay the bills,
Right.
and then it's, life support. And then the church dies. And, sometimes the closing of a church is a celebration, because when some people die, it is a celebration that they're, going to heaven, and you celebrate the good things. But I don't want this church to be that. And I don't want to, we're not even close to that.
No.
So I have been thinking when I was on sabbatical, what are some things that we can do as a church to assure that we're not going to start the downside of the bell curve, that we continue to grow, because sustained health. And so while I was on sabbatical this year, back in October, I did a lot of praying, especially the week that I was at the monastery. Nobody else would talk to me, but the Lord would. So I spent a lot of time talking to the Lord that week out in the woods. And I really feel like God gave me some direction to share with the church. And that's really what I did Sunday. And want to share that with everybody in the podcast tomorrow. Kind of some of those things that the Lord laid on my heart, some goals, some things that we can do and want to shoot for, so that by the time we're 100 years old, we're healthier than we've ever been. And I think that's the goal that I think God wants for our church.
Now, part of gearing up for kind of the next phase is that you've been doing some kind of shuffling with staff and so forth. So did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the big thing that's kind of causing this is, as many of you know, Pastor Tim is going to be retiring. Tim has been here for, I think, 23 years. And so he's been here a fourth of the life of this church. And that's a lot for one person to be here that long. I don't know if anybody else has ever been here that long. And he's obviously been a huge blessing to our church. And he's going to be retiring at the end of February. So that's kind of our fiscal year ends in February, begins in March. And so that was the time he picked. And so Tim's going to be with us on staff for another 7-8 weeks, and then he's going to be retiring. I'm guessing he'll be back often for just sharing some things around here. But as you know, they've moved to Cincinnati, own a home in Cincinnati, and he's looking forward to not making the drive from Cincinnati to Columbus so much.
Yeah.
But I wanted to share on here that, on the last Sunday of February, we're going to celebrate Tim's ministry here in Debbie. And so he'll be preaching that Sunday, and it'll be his last message here as a staff person. And then after the service, we're planning some special things for him in a celebration of his ministry that we want to make sure everybody knows about. So put this on your calendar now, that February, whatever the last Sunday in February is. I think it's the 23rd, but don't quote me on that because I've not been getting numbers right all day today. But it's the last Sunday of February. He'll be preaching, and we're going to celebrate. There's some things that we're going to do for him. One of the things, and hopefully Tim's not listening to this, but he'll find out eventually anyway, is we bought a really old journal it's not old, it looks old, to match Tim now. But we want to give everybody an opportunity to write something in the journal. So it'll be around on Sunday mornings in the lobby starting very soon. And so just if you have a memory of him or something you want to say, somebody you want to express appreciation or thanks for him or encouragement, you can just jot a note in that. And then at his retirement party, we'll give him this journal. We have other things planned, and we have a whole team that's working on this. So we don't want to divulge too much because he'll probably listen to this because he does. But we're working on that. So we want you to be able to share in that as well. So if that's just put that on your calendar. So.
All right. Duly noted.
Yeah. And then, the other question is, well, what are you going to do when Tim's gone? And I'm like, I don't really know, because Tim's the guy that cares. That's kind of how everybody knows it. And well, I want to say that I do care too. But Tim has been amazing. And there's no way to fill Tim's shoes. And so we're not really planning to hire somebody to do everything that Tim did, because no one could do that. Kind of like when David Middendorf left, how do you find a guy who's 60 some years old, has lots of tattoos and a goatee and rides a motorcycle and can sing hymns really, really great? You don't look for somebody to fill those shoes, and we won't really find anybody to fill Tim's shoes, but we are going to keep moving because we think, God's got some good days ahead of us. And we have hired somebody named Kevin Angel to come in and join our staff. Kevin is currently the pastor at Dayspring Church of the Nazarene over near World Harvest in Canal Winchester area. Mm-hmm. And he's been there for several years. And he is going to be joining us on staff. And his responsibility will really be like the director of operations. Like, he's going to help with all the things that happen between the school and the church, and just running the organization. A lot of those things. He'll actually be here the beginning of February, so he's going to be working with Tim for a month before Tim leaves. So all the stuff Tim knows, he can pass off. All the passwords and the secret passageways at the church,
yes,
and all the stuff, that needs to be known, so we don't have to call him every day. But they'll work together for about a month, and that will really help the transition, I think, as well. Yeah. Kevin is a great guy. I'm super excited about him coming on staff. He's got a great family. Sue Ann is his wife's name, and he's got 4 kids. He's currently also serving as the district secretary. So one of the great things about Kevin is that he's really good with details, and that helps me because I'm not. So I think together we make a pretty decent team covering everything that needs to be covered. He's probably good at what I'm good at also, but I'm not good at what he's good at. So it really pays off, and it's really going to be helpful. We'll actually have him on podcast soon, so you'll get to know him and get to see him.
Great.
So we're looking forward to that. And then another couple of changes that are happening. A lot of this is predicated with Tim's retirement, and just thinking, a lot of times the knee-jerk reaction is to just hire somebody who did what the other person did. But we're like, things have changed. They're different. So we're trying to change things around. The other change we're making is that Mike Fluhart, who's the head of school right now, is going to be transitioning to become the director of development, or development director, whatever you want to call it. And his primary responsibility is going to be raising funds in the development for the school. So we just took out a loan for the school. He's hoping to get it paid off really fast.
So are you.
And I'm really hoping that he pays it off really fast too. But he's been, God's really kind of turned his heart to that, and feels like part of his legacy can be to help us with that. And so we have kind of restructured things at the school where he's still head of school right now, but we'll hire a new head of school. We've actually been looking for that position for almost 2 years now. I think we're narrowing it down. We're very close to having that taken care of, I think. And so with that hire, that person would come at the beginning of the school year, and Mike would make that transition then. So that'll be a whole new thing over at the school, but it's going to be very exciting because the school building will be done, hopefully.
Yep.
Hopefully, if everyone prays, it'll be done before school starts, and we'll be good to go. And so that'll help out a lot. Then the other couple of changes we're making is with you, Joe, increasing your hours and focus on our online digital ministry. And we're going to be talking more about what that means and looks like as other things in the ministry change. But
sure,
it's so important to have an online presence and an online ministry. And Joe does an amazing job with that, from the podcast to our social media to the website to all of the things that you see on Sunday mornings online and in person on the screen, managing teams and all that. I mean, we would be sunk in the water.
We'd be just fine.
We would be in trouble.
No, you'd be just fine.
No, we'd be in trouble. So we're trying to give more priority to that with that role, and so we're going to be talking about what that looks like more. And then the other thing is that Natalie, as many of you know Natalie, she's been kind of the administrator of the calendar and those kinds of things. She really has a call in her life for ministry, and so we're going to transition her more to a more pastoral role. And just kind of between Kevin and myself and some of the and her will continue to do some of the administrative things, but giving her more of a pastoral role in the area of assimilating new people in our small groups, helping to organize them and track them and get on small group leaders to turn in their reports, and training and identifying new group leaders. As you'll hear tomorrow, we have some goals for that area of ministry as well. So there's several things changing. Nothing's really changing drastically, but I think some shifts in focus from some of our staff is going to help us out as a church to kind of be more on point about the things that we need to do and want to do. And so, so there's some of those changes are coming, but I'm excited about what God's doing. I don't know that I ever thought about the age of the church that I would ever be a pastor of, but I probably never thought I'd be a pastor of a church that was almost 100.
Yeah.
But this church is great, and God's doing some really cool things and very exciting things here. And I'm excited about what this church will look like in 2 years and 7 months when we turn 100 years old. I believe God's got some really great plans for us, and I'm excited to share them and to work toward making those become a reality. So
great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in tomorrow's episode, we're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of some of the goals that are being set as we're getting ready to celebrate 100 years, 27 months away. From 1927 to 2027. And there's a lot to be done between now and then.
A lot.
You can also check out everything that's going on in the church by going to Shepnaz.org. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For Pastor Rob, I'm Joe. Have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.